I guess there are definitely people make the argument that Ghostbusters is bad because of women, but I hope that that would be a minority. It would have bothered me less if there wasn't the whole, oh my god, finally a movie with women leads beforehand. There are plenty of good and bad movies with women that already haven't. Yeah, but like, you typically see movies with men leads, so until we've seen like a plenty of both, people are still going to make that same comment. Much the same that if a movie comes out where there are minority leads, like black people or whatever, people are going to be like, wow, cool, a black lead, like they did with Black Panther. That's going to happen as long as the representation is so off. Like, there have been a shitload of films with female leads. No? The vast majority of films, like in the action and sci-fi and all those categories, are male leads. Now, are there a lot when you talk about absolute numbers? Yeah, I'm sure there have probably been hundreds, maybe even thousands. But in terms of a percentage of the overall movies that have been made, I don't know, it's a little bit disingenuous to say there are shitloads. Like, there are shitloads of people with ultra-rare conditions on the planet. We don't call those conditions ultra-rare because they happen to, like, very few people. We say they're ultra-rare because they happen to a very small percentage of people. To be clear, Little Fly 87, like I don't enjoy it when characters are kind of shoehorned in, and it's in the political narrative is very obvious, if that makes sense. Like, one of the worst types of movies I've seen do this is Mr. and Mrs. Smith, where every single scene is like the woman one-upping the guy and being like, well, I'm a woman, girl power. Like, I think that shit is pretty annoying, but so if the producers decided they wanted to make The Godmother and basically remake The Godfather with an all-female Italian crime family and it totally sucked ass, would it really not be appropriate to blame the quality of the film on a poorly inspired, contrived shoehorn premise? No. So, like, the problem, and I'm never going to convince you, excuse me, because you're so fucking conservative that you cannot even entertain for a microsecond a different argument. But, like, all of your statements make what you think inside so obvious, and, like, I know that you don't realize that. But, like, in your mind, so when I read your statement, okay, you say, if the producers decided that they wanted to make The Godmother and basically remake The Godfather with an all-female Italian crime family and it totally sucked ass, would it really not be appropriate to blame the quality of the film on a poorly inspired, contrived, shoehorned premise? What you're really saying there is that making an Italian crime family movie with women is a dumb, contrived idea, that it has to be men. Why would you ever remake something like The Godfather with women? Women can't do that kind of stuff. Women aren't criminals. Women don't do crime families. That has to be a man thing, right? That's what you're really saying with this statement, whether you realize it or not. And I'm sure you're going to type up some retarded shit about why that's not what you actually mean, but yeah, Destiny, I'm saying that take films people like, remove men, and add women can sometimes lead to bad content. Or could lead to great content. Whether or not the content is good or bad, though, it shouldn't matter whether or not there are women or men. That's the problem, right? The issue isn't whether or not there are men or women that are recast, right? The thing is that people like you will never find you'll never look at a movie like The Green Lantern. Here's an example, right? The Green Lantern. Nobody... I've never seen it in my life. Now, maybe there's 1% of this, but nobody looked at The Green Lantern and was like, wow, that movie was really bad because they decided to cast a white male for the lead. Like, what a horrible fucking movie. Like, that ruined it. But if they would have did The Green Lantern with, like, a female lead or whatever, then people would say, like, oh, well, that movie was bad because it was a female, right? You'll never blame the badness of a movie on the fact that there is a white male leading, or the fact that there's like a male leading. You'll never say that oh, this movie was bad because there was a man. However, people like you will say this movie was bad because there were women cast for it. You know, like that in and of itself, those statements are indicative of cancerous underlying thoughts that. He's being insanely disingenuous with that example anyway. No one is literally remaking movies and replacing everyone with females. These have all been soft reboots and not direct. Yeah, that's true too. The Ghostbusters wasn't even really a remake. Although I don't like that argument, because even if it was a remake, I just don't see the big deal. The problem is that what you see played out here is that men have incredibly fragile egos, just as fragile as any black person, just as fragile as any fucking woman, right? Men constantly say, why do you need characters that look like you? Why do they have to look like you? Why do you need characters that look like you? It shouldn't matter. But then when a movie is made with women, why do there have to be women? Why do there have to be women there? Why can't we just keep it as men? It's like, why does it matter? Like, if it's a shit movie, it's a shit movie, period. It's not a shit movie because women were cast. It's not a shit movie because they decided to do an all-women remake. You can do all-women remakes that are good. You can do all-women remakes that are bad. So clearly the woman part of that isn't the variable that's determined. It's not like there's a movie. Do you think that if the new Ghostbusters was cast with all men with the exact same script, that that's a gold movie? Now that's a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. Now that the nerd movie review guy is all of a sudden really happy with it? Like, no, it's still like a super meh comedy. Like, that's it. Like, the fact that there's women or men there doesn't, like, totally influence how good or bad the movie is. I absolutely agree. It can lead to good content, but you have to acknowledge it can lead to bad content. When it does, it's appropriate to cast blame on the inspiration for the film. You're basically saying you can never blame that inspiration for bad content when it's obviously just as reactionary. I just don't think that the inspiration, they wanted to make a movie with women, is like something that would intrinsically lead to bad content. That's the problem, is that you have intrinsically connected your inspiration of making film with women turns into bad film, that inspiration was bad. That is intrinsically bad. Like... Oh, yeah, Destiny. So if a movie is inspired by an SJW inclusive motivation and the movie is shit, then blaming the inspiration for the content is apparently off limits to you? That makes no sense at all. Just because something is inspired by inclusive doesn't mean it should be immune from criticism. I'm not saying that anything should be immune from criticism. I'm saying be honest with your criticism. Don't try to say that, like, oh, well, I don't mind if women are in movies, blah, 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 blah. I just think it was a mistake. Say, like, okay, I don't think that women should be in these movies. Or or something like that. It's, like, more honest. Because, like, even what you're saying here, SJW inclusive motivation, that can lead to good movies or it can lead to bad movies. For a good example of SJW inclusive motivation, look at the entire history of the X-Men, which is literally the defining point of that whole fucking series, right? And then I'm sure we could find examples of, like, really dumb SJW inclusive movies or whatever. I'm sure those exist out there too, but... You have to admit you're being a little bit disingenuous by saying the only possible difference between an original and all-women remake is the fact that they swapped it with women, right? No, I'm saying there are lots of differences. I'm saying there are lots of differences that contribute to something being bad. I just don't understand why you would say because there are women, now all of a sudden it's bad. The problem is you're unable to recognize when it does lead to bad movies. I totally agree it can lead to good movies. So you already agree with me. What are we arguing? Deciding to do a movie and then having women can lead to good movies or can lead to bad movies. That's not the variable that determines whether the movie is good or bad. Professor X wasn't telepathic, it's a huge myth.
Replacing all the women in porn with men doesn't make it better either. Just makes it a little gay. Gashigasm.
Do you not think it's highly improbable that Rey was a Mary Sue because Disney wanted to empower women? Like, people say this, and I went looking through that movies thread. There were like 10,000 comments. Why was nobody complaining about Han Solo being a Gary Stu? How about that? Can you explain that for me? Because Han was just as bad as Rey in the Star Wars movie. It was actually something that I was really disappointed about because it made that movie like a million times more boring to me. But nobody... Why? Why doesn't anybody make that claim there? And for the record, I agree that Rey was a huge Mary Sue, and it was one of the worst parts of her character. But in the Han Solo movie, Han was absolutely a Gary Stu, and nobody seemed to care about that at all. Like... He literally starts the movie off as like a 15-year-old like master pilot that it can hijack everything and do everything and like, okay, well, I thought we were watching like the creation of Han Solo, not like by the time we get to the movie, even though he's like 14 years old, he's already like a master everything. Like, okay. Solo was objectively shit though and performed at the box office as such. Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying that like nobody would ever call that out Like, nobody would ever, like, when you're a man, you face different criticisms, or when you're a woman, you face much harsher criticisms sometimes than, like, men would, right? Like, if your character is overpowered, again, like, this is, like, an X Skills Me critique, right? If your character is overpowered and you're a female, you're only overpowered because of SJWs. They just want to empower women, blah, blah, blah. But if you're a male character and you're overpowered, it's like, okay, well, maybe it's a shitty character, maybe it's not. Maybe it's overpowered, maybe it's not. But instead of, like, getting into the character analysis, it's literally, like, SJWs made this person overpowered because it's a woman. It's like, okay, like, is that, like, the reason why the character is bad? Literally because it's a woman? Like, that's what, like, I don't know. It's just... Have I watched Westworld? The first season, yeah. Any opinion on the whole realism thing with women in the Battlefield 5 trailer? I don't think realism is, like, a good thing to call out for Call of Duty shooters. It just feels like a really dumb cop-out argument when so much of the game is so hilariously unrealistic. It seems very, like, when you decide where you want to pick and choose your realisms, it makes me wonder what your motivations are. And people are never honest about their motivations, right? So we always have to inductively reason out, like, what's motivating you to make this complaint. You know, if somebody looks at a picture, if somebody tries to draw, like, a decently realistic picture of a classroom full of school children, and a guy looks at the picture and he's like, you know, this picture, the male students, the bulges on their pants just aren't there. You know, their dicks would be about this long by the time they were in 4th grade. I just don't understand. Your drawing is just not really accurate. Like, if that was the criticism that they went with, you would look at that guy like, the fuck? That's what you're going with? What? That's your criticism of the fuck? What the fuck is wrong with you, right? But when you look at the Battlefield trailer, right, and you have pretty much another Call of Duty shooter where you can literally fly in planes, jump out of one plane, rocket launcher another plane, and then hop into another plane, and then fly off, right? When this is your game, and then somebody looks and they see a woman as the main character, like, that's not very realistic, guys. Like, that's of all the bullshit that involves shooting in Battlefield, that's your takeaway unrealistic aspect there? Like, okay, interesting. That's where you draw the line. Like, the reason people don't like women thing in Battlefield 5 is that it appears to be politically motivated. But that's the problem, right? This is the issue, is that, and again, it's impossible to do if you're a man. You can't do it. I don't know why, because people don't naturally have empathy. Imagine you're a woman, right? You can't be in any game without a justification for being there. You can't have a character in any game unless there's got to be a damn good reason for you to be there, right? Like, why can't I, if I'm a woman, I can't have a character that's in a game unless it's got to have a whole fucking it's got to have a whole justification, it's got to have a whole fucking good ass reason for being there. Like, I can't just have a character that's a woman in a game. I just not allowed to have that. Like, that's just completely not allowed unless there's, like, it's got to be like the realistic portrayed sniper from fucking World War II. It's got to be the British espionage. Like, I can't just have a woman character. That's not allowed. But for men characters, you can have a million different types of ridiculously insane Rambo tier men characters. You don't need a reason for any of those people. You don't need any reasons for that. You just make them out the fucking ass. Make them overpowered, make them god tier, make them Rambo, whatever. You don't need any reasons for that. But if there's a woman character, I've got to sit here and give you, like, the fucking spiel. I've got to justify my whole existence just to have a character that looks like me. Like, I think the problem here is the feminist or SJW rhetoric is being used as the focal point in entertainment. And if you criticize that, you're somehow sexist. Equality means women characters can be criticized too. Sure. And you can criticize there are plenty of shit fucking women characters, dude. Holy fuck. What are some games that we played recently? I'm sure we played games recently with shitty fucking women characters. They exist. But the difference is that when you criticize a man, this goes back to my whole, like, how you insult people and everything, right? If you walk into a room with a girl, you have a million different go-to insults immediately. Oh, what's wrong? Are you PMSing because you're on your fucking period? Oh, you're so mad? Maybe you should go to the kitchen and make me a sandwich. Oh, what are you doing here? Fucking art history is that way, right? There's a million go-to insults for a woman. You walk into a room with a white dude, I have to learn something about you to make fun of you, And it's the same way with criticisms in games, If there's a male character and you want to say, well, that character is shit, you're never going to say that character is really shitty because he was male. Like, why would they cast a man there? Like, that was so politically motivated. Like, Jesus, to make that character a man? That's, like, such a shitty decision. It makes it a shit character. You would never say that. But you can say, Why would they cast a woman there? That's a shitty like, why would you make that a woman? What a shitty choice for a female character. Like, it's just bad. Like, why would you have the female character, right? You will criticize the aspect of it being a female, but you would never criticize the aspect of it being a male. Like, you can have shitty women characters, but if your criticism of a shitty woman character is that it's a woman, then it's like, okay, well, what are you actually trying to say? Destiny's pretending that people don't like the character because of an appeal to hyper-realism. In reality, it was that prosthetic World War II Tracer character was hilariously contrived and only created because of SJWBS. Okay.
Out of there! Do it now! Shut up! Whoever's left.
Oh, I was gonna say, this looks a lot like fucking Aliens. What the fuck? But this is a, yeah. I disagree. I think that history has a part even in a casual shooter. It feels like rewriting of facts where women are represented in a situation where they simply weren't present. Nothing wrong with women characters. And like, first of all, wasn't the trailer just a multiplayer thing? That's the first thing. But secondly, who cares? Like, why does it matter? It's not like we're actually relearning history in a history book. Like, the problem, here's the problem that I have to deal with, okay? And I fucking hate that I have this problem. The problem is that most of you fucking lie about what you're saying and why you believe the things you do. You fucking lie about it because you're worried that what you actually believe is too offensive or too rude or whatever. So I have to play all these fucking mind games where I have to figure out what you actually mean, right? So when people like you say things like, well, the problem, I understand that it's, okay, so here might be your argument, okay? It doesn't have to be hyper-realistic, Destiny. We can both agree that there are exaggerations made. But these exaggerations are made for gameplay purposes, okay? Yeah, you can look up your gun real quick and run through a hail of bullets. But nobody wants to play an ultra-hyper-realistic shooter where you die instantly as soon as you run through a field, okay? But I'm just saying, like, putting women there, like, it destroys the immersive aspect of the thing. Again, I'm not saying that we have to be, like, hyper-realistic. I'm just saying, like, adding women in a place where there were none, you know, like, totally destroys it, okay? So, like, this is your position, that this is where you draw the line in terms of, like, making something, like, realistic or not. But you never see these criticisms when it comes to movies like Braveheart, or it comes to movies like, what's the other big Mel Gibson one? Braveheart or The Patriot, where people are like, one guy with a hatchet taking out like 20 dudes. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, to save his children and shit, this is so dumb. Like, this is beyond fucking, like, realistic or fake or whatever. This is the dumbest thing. Like, what about the shit in The Patriot? Rewriting history, some lone dude fooling generals and shit? Like, this is insanely... Like, where are those arguments there? You never hear them there. You never hear people saying like, oh, The Patriot, well, that movie was just, it was historical revisionism of the worst type. The Last King of Scotland, Mel Gibson isn't even Scottish. I don't know if he's Scottish or not, right? This is the most horrific revisionism that I've ever seen. So it's like when all of the historical revisionists, when their cries are absent in all of these areas, and then they choose to speak up.
I don't want women in my shooters because I only enjoy killing women in real life.
And then they choose to speak up, like, in matters of, like, Battlefield 5 having a female character. I don't know, like, it makes me wonder, like, what you're actually getting at. Like, I have to sit here and I've got to spend a lot of time thinking, like, okay, well, fuck, like, he's really critical. Is he really making the realism argument here? Because if he was really making the realism argument, I feel like I could apply that to, like, so many other forms of media, but I know I never hear people make these same criticisms here, so it's probably not realism. He's probably using realism as a proxy for some other thing that he's criticizing, and now I've got to figure out what else is he criticizing besides the realism, and is that actually an okay criticism or not? Is it fair or not? Because I can never go by what you say, because people are insanely dishonest about what it is that they're actually criticizing. Like, if people were so concerned with historical reality and shit, why aren't games like Arma or Red Orchestra 2 so much more popular? Like, these are games that try really hard to get right the feels of these World War II or these World War environments, right? The shooting is very accurate. The locations can be very realistic. Fucking Arma 2, like, is literally...
Thanks for continued content.
Like, Arma 2 is, like, literally modeled after, like, real places. I'm pretty sure, actually, for Arma 3, some of the artists got arrested literally got arrested because they were like doing drawings and shit in was it in Russia? There's like there are pictures. I would have to find them again, but they're like pictures of like comparing real life to Arma 2, where it's like where they're literally like copies of places. But anyway, yeah, I'm sorry. People have always hated politically motivated historical revisionism. Okay, but people have never used video games as a means. Oh, is it Greece? Arma 3 is Greece, sorry. People have never used historical revisionism as an argument against like against video games. Or I'm sorry, let me rephrase this. Oh, I fucked this all up. People don't typically look at video games as like history teaching devices. So like the idea that people are the idea that people are like expecting video games to teach you history, saying, I don't know, it's just like, that is an argument. Like, if you want that to be an argument, that can be a real argument. The idea that, like, if you make a video game and you set it in a World War era, you should be as close to the facts as possible. You can totally make that argument, for sure. But I don't ever see that applied to anything else. Like, so it makes me wonder what your actual argument is. This is by far the dumbest thing you've ever said. Do you even understand internal consistency? You can't just bash things because they're not realistic in a vacuum. This is the same thing as your complaints about the new Star Wars. You have exact same complaints as the people you're bashing now. I don't even know what you're talking. I just read this whole sentence and I don't actually know what you're saying. Maybe in your next one you'll get to the point. Why do people go for retard when Battlefield adds a black guy or woman and cry for realism when the game already exists? They go for realism such as Red Orchestra, Rising Storm Vietnam, Squad, and now the new World War II game Postscriptum. Plus, didn't the newest World War II Call of Duty have women playable and the multiplayer playable didn't make such a fuss? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Isn't there a good reason for a female to be in Battlefield in the form of Russian enlisted/conscripted and or French female fighters? Why did it have to be a Brit cuck? Like, who cares? Why does it matter? If somebody says, like, hey, we want more women to play our games, maybe if we make a woman main character, maybe people will do it. Like, why is it so fucking bad? Why is it so horrible? Why does it irritate you so much? Why can't you just have a main character that's a woman? Why is it that big of a deal? Yeah, and this is injecting politics like art into video games game is fucking stupid anyway because politics are present in everything. Oftentimes, I missed that, and you're absolutely right. Oftentimes when people say you're making this political or you're injecting politics, what they really mean is you're injecting politics that I don't agree with. I only want my politics. Everything is political. Everything exists in a cultural context. And the only time you don't see that is if the prevailing opinion agrees with you. And anytime somebody presents a counter narrative, now it feels like politics, right? That's absolutely correct too. Yeah. Why couldn't she be Russian though? Because that's the area where the women are. Why would she be Russian? Isn't it? Aren't you normally playing on the was it the Axis and Allies in World War II? Where aren't you normally playing like on the Allied powers? Like, why? Maybe that's why it has to be British. Like, would it make sense for there to be a Russian? Like, I don't know. You play both? Oh shit, that's right. The Russians were allies. That's totally fucking retarded. I mean, like playing like the Western dudes though. Like you're normally playing like America and the British dudes and the French dudes and everything, right? You're not normally playing like Russians versus Germany. I guess you could. I've never seen a World War game like that before. Destiny. I'm a woman, and what makes a character compelling to me isn't their gender, it's their story. So I don't know what these creators are trying to do when gender isn't really the issue. That's great, dude, but you're probably fucking retarded, and I don't really care. I'm sorry, dude. I'm so done with the, well, I'm a woman, and I'm the woman I'm not like other women, and I'm the cool one in the group, and I don't even see why all these other bitches are crying that they need a character that look like, oh my god, like, I wish that I had a deep enough place in my house so that I could carry my camera and show you how beneath everything I care about your opinion. Like the lowest levels of like where I give a fuck about your opinion. It's like way fucking down there. Like I'm pretty sure it would be illegal to dig as deep. I would be like an Elon Musk's Hyperloop to get to that spot, all right? Usually the games have different fronts and have all the parts for obvious reasons. They're usually marketed and focused on the Western front because they're made of... Yeah, I don't know. I haven't played like any war games in a long... The last war game I played was fucking Medal of Honor. Like, fuck. So I don't know like which fronts you play on in the war games. But I feel like Western audiences are so much more are more likely to identify with like British and American soldiers than with Russians. I could be wrong, but do you not believe in compelling story being the most important thing? If that is so, gender is more important than story? No, I think that you can have a compelling story with either gender. That's all I think. I don't know if gender isn't relevant to me to make the story compelling, unless it's literally like the story of a woman giving birth, I guess. I'm sorry for insulting you in chat. I'm sorry. I'm really triggered. Noodle Cake 11. I didn't mean to be so mean. That one woman made that huge post, and I get super fucking triggered. Anytime you get like the token, the Uncle Tom-esque figures that like come out of the woodwork to reaffirm like all the fucking sexist, racist people, these are like the most damaging people in my mind. I like, oh god, yikes. Did you actually like the last Ghostbusters movie? I just thought it was I watched it and it was like meh. It was like a meh comedy. I didn't like super like it, but I didn't super hate it.
Parenthesis.
Just curious, if a game, let's say, is trying to tell a story about women's battalions in Russia, would you see a problem if men were included into the women's battalions in the game, even though the game is trying to realistically portray the story? I mean, like, if your goal, here's the question. The question is, what is your goal for the game, right? If your goal is literally to showcase, you know, this is the story of these, you know, particular people, then in that case, you can do whatever, you know, if it's all white people, if it's all black people, or if it's all women or whatever, that's fine, right? But Battlefield doesn't seem to be a game that is focused on like razor sharp historical accuracy. It doesn't seem to be a game that is hardcore focused on telling the story of like a particular group or a particular company of people, you know? Did this meme happen with Black Panther 2? Because I actually caught myself wondering why they have to make this narrative, this black man struggle in the ghetto thing, and then I was like, wait, why do I give a shit? Oh, no, dude, it absolutely happened with the Black Panther. What, fuck, what's that dumb chick's name? What was her tweet? She made a tweet about, it was something like, and there were tons of people making tweets. I think Stefan Mala dipshit made a tweet about it as well, where they were like, oh, black people defending their black ethno-state? Could you imagine if they made a movie about white people defending their white ethno-state or whatever, and like ignoring the fact that 99% of like medieval media is literally all like fucking white people? Like, look at Lord of the Rings. Like, fucking Christ, dude. Oh, man. She might have made a whole video about it, too. I think she did make a whole video about it, and we were, like, watching some of it, and it was fucking retarded. Black Panther was pretty good, though.
Buck is trained. They're both trained.
Wait, hello, Anakin?
Yeah.
Is that a gamer girl? Sorry.
People do it. Remember when I said this, that people do this shit every fucking time, right? As soon as, this is what triggered me when I started playing games with Cheeks. As soon as you got into a game, as soon as she opened her fucking mouth, you had to wait for the like, girl! Girl! Is that a real girl? I'm just kidding, by the way. I'm just being ironic.
How old are it?
Friendly. He's on the run for the ace. Give him the ace. Nice spray patter.
Op 4 eliminated all friendlies.
Valcom thing.
Are you a man or female?
Are you a girl or are you just a little boy? Are you a girl or a little boy? That's another one that you hear all the fucking time.
She's in the bathroom.
Is that a gamer girl?
She's going under the hatch.
Gamer girl? Question mark?
I think we should be against politically motivated historical revisionism in general, whether we agree or disagree with it's just a video game, dude. Who cares? Like, this idea that, like, everything needs to be hardcore, like, it's just, like, you see a group of, like, 9-year-olds running around playing cops and robbers, and you're like, hold on, dude. That robber just shot that cop? Well, you guys need to role play out, then, this guy getting indicted, going to court, okay? Because now the state is definitely bringing charges to this dude. He killed a fucking cop, and he's probably going to be mistreated during the trial and shit because they're going to be real mad. You need to accurately represent this guy from every single, as soon as he's fucking charged, as soon as he's put in holding from the whole, like, you need to be accurate with your goddamn games. You can't be inaccurate. You gotta be 100, like, dude, it's a fucking video game. Like, we're not here to learn history. Now, if you want to make a game that incorporates that, that's awesome. More power to you. But the primary part of a video game is generally to be fun. That's typically what we want. Even in realistic games, you don't have people, you know, like having to stop every, 12 hours to take a shit or something. Destiny, why do you care so much? So people don't like politically motivated historical revision. Why can't you accept that? Well, one, I have a vested stake in it financially because I do entertainment for a living revolving around video games. And the more women that get involved in the industry, the more of an audience I have. I could theoretically double my audience if more women were involved in the industry, right? As it stands right now, there are very, very, very few women. Two, you could argue that the acceptance of video games and culture and society in general would grow if more women were into it. Three, more bitches to fuck. Because if more girls are playing games, that's more girls that are playing games with me. That's more people I can bang. Four, from a social progress point of view, the more people that are represented in more areas in general, it's probably beneficial. You want men and women both being able to make choices on what do I want to be involved in, what do I want to do, and having women represented in different parts of culture is probably good in that, being doctors or being war people or whatever. I don't know. Like, there's a million different reasons why you have a vested interest in seeing higher representation across different fields for different types of people. You want everybody to feel like they've bought into the system of America, and everybody's bought into this idea of participating in our culture and our economy in a fuck ton of different ways, right? What were we watching? I need to go eat soon, by the way.
Are you a man or a female? The world women may never.
Listen here, gamer girl. I wanted the one tapping. You stole my fucking content. You're shit at the game. Get out. Now.
How about the fact that you can sympathize with women? Nah, I've never used that argument because most men just don't give a fuck about women. That's a lie. As soon as you're asking a man, can you just like think for a second like how shitty it would feel if you were a woman here? Nope! You already lost the argument. The guy would be like, what do you mean? If I was a woman, I would just be thinking of cooking cupcakes all day.
Your kind is not welcome here.
As a guy who likes guys, is it then okay for me to not want women in my video games? Yeah, I'll give that to you. If you're gay and maybe you don't want women playing games, you think women are icky, but yeah, you got a leg to stand on. Sure.
Gamer trans. Fucking tranny bitch. Kill him.
Op 4, last operator standing.
Look at this recoil controller. Oh my.
15 seconds left. Time expires in 10 seconds.
Just
One
shotgun,
friendly remaining.
retard.
Friendly's victorious.
Yo,
Hostiles
gamer
eliminated.
girl, before you hop in a rank, why don't you watch a message? We're not being like this because we don't like women. We're being like this because you're shit, by the way. So, you know. Any last words? Any last words? Any last words? So it doesn't know.
The diffuser is no longer in your possession. The diffuser has been secured. Diffuser is online and active.
Swapping that.
Op 4 eliminated. Friendly mission successful.
Can you please support your previous statement with evidence based on social science studies of empathy and transportation and fiction? I'm sure you wouldn't just spout your half-assed off opinions as fact. There was one that we brought up a long time before, and I think Whoop Whoop had linked more as well. I would have to... what was it called? Like the Scully effect? It's the idea that like if there are people that look like you in media, that it can inspire people that look like you to do things in regards to that. There was like a big trace of like a whole bunch of women that were inspired to go into like comp sci or not comp sci, but like different types of investigative fields, I think, and science related fields because they were so into the X-Files growing up, and because Scully, Mulder's partner in that show, was pretty much his equal in every way, I think. But yeah, I mean, that's one example. I don't know. I'm sure there are like a million other examples. And I remember we had other stuff linked in the past as well. That like if you've got people that look like you doing a certain thing, you feel like you can do it too. Destiny has a big LGBT community. My LGBT community is cancer. My T community is cancer. All of you transgender people that exist in that LGBT not safe for work channel, you guys need to fucking find another community. God damn. I thought about having an anti-trans day just to get rid of you motherfuckers. Holy shit. I'm pretty sure Scully was his boss. Was Scully Mulder's boss? Wait, I thought they were partners. Am I wrong on that? I could be wrong on that. I always thought they were partners. I don't think I watched that much the X-Files growing up, though. Wait, they already did leave? Oh, good. Fuck them. Get them out of here. That guy's wrong. They were partners? Oh, okay. They already made a new Discord? Okay, good. These guys are hooking up with each other and fucking posting pictures and shit on my goddamn Discord about it. This fucking, some dude is gonna get raped or some shit, and I'm gonna get fucking banned off of the whole internet. God damn.
Is her fitness level slowly improving, Destiny?
Hopefully.
So what you're saying is that if there were more TV shows that involve a fat white bald guy picking up women, then Picklamancer would get laid more?
Alright, can I just go get food? This is, again, I don't know, like, if this is, like, a conservative social thing or, like, what if we don't like politically motivated historical revisionism? Destiny, it's just a video game, so you shouldn't care. Well, why do you care? Because I'm special in social justice. Like, I don't understand if you literally have, like, that little empathy for another human. Like, fuck, I think I am a borderline sociopath, and even I'm not that fucking cold. That like can't see that some people just enjoy having figures in media and entertainment that they feel like they can relate to. I feel like you have to be really fucking far gone, really far down that retard conservative train to totally not be able to understand when somebody says something like, hey, like if there was a character in media that looked like me, I don't know, I think that would be really cool. Like I would really enjoy that. I guess that like that's not a like, Jesus, fuck, 99% of the guys that are going to be playing this game are too fucking out of shape to go overseas and post up in a fucking foxhole or some shit somewhere. Like, damn, like... If you want a real World War II game that has an accurate showing of World War II, then 80% of the game would be focused on fucking Germany executing half of fucking Russia, too, and then losing their army in the fucking winter instead of the bullshit revisionism we get where America saves the whole goddamn world. Alright, I'm just kidding. America's biggest contribution to the fucking war was the, what, the Lend-Lease program? I'm just kidding. I'm sorry, guys. Alright. Can I go get food now? I'm hungry. Do you think more positive representations of overweight people in media would be bad? I don't like that personally, because I think being overweight is like a bad thing that you shouldn't be, but I don't know. Destiny, it's almost like it's a balancing act, and you're the one that's on one end of the extremes. Like I said, I know I'm never getting through to you, but like, just, there's like no way to pull somebody out of their vacuum. Or maybe I'm lost, dude. I don't know. When I see a guy in my chat saying that I'm on the extreme end because there's one woman in a trailer, like, I don't know what to say to you. Like, it feels like we're in totally different universes right now. It's not like I literally loaded up the trailer and there's like the Spice Girls there on the Western Front, like solo carrying the war. It's literally like one woman. And wasn't there just one woman in the trailer? Like, how is that so extreme? It's a British woman with a prosthetic arm, something that's never going to happen. So there were no British women with prosthetic arms fighting in all of World War II? Do you really think that's true? Destiny is absolutely in the extreme here. He's saying the position that you can't criticize some content for being too politically contrived. If that content was motivated by inclusiveness, then it's de facto noble. Nope, never said that. And shouldn't be criticized for being politically motivated. Yeah, I don't think that you should criticize things, I mean, just because it's got a political motivation. It's a stupid position. I mean, like, I don't know. It just doesn't... I guess, like, it just doesn't seem like an intelligent criticism to me. Like, okay, this thing was made by SJW. It's like, okay, that's not a criticism. Like, what's wrong with it? The writing is really bad. Okay, well, we can say that without criticizing the fact that it was politically motivated. Or, like, the character is totally unrealistic. Okay, we can criticize that without saying that it's politically motivated. That's the problem. Like, politically motivated can be good or bad. You've already agreed to that. So why would that be the base, like... I don't know. Why can't we criticize the fact that it was politically motivated? Because it just seems like a weird... It's not a criticism with substance. Like, if your complaint is... Like, there are ways to complain about something, but complaining about the motivation of something is just... It's just really weird. It just doesn't feel like a real criticism. Like, you're the one on the extreme by saying you can't criticize... You can criticize things for being anything you want. I'm just saying that criticism just doesn't seem to be very valid. Like... It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like... It's about integrity in gaming journalism. I can't believe anyone liked Schindler's List. The anti-Nazi political motivation was disgusting. Nice. It's the same way that something like God's Not Dead is politically motivated and just awful for it. Yeah, sure. God's Not Dead is an awful fucking movie, but not just because it's politically motivated, but because like its apologia for like it's just horrible. Like it's just really fucking bad. Like the writing is so forced and so preachy. But like you could make a movie about like converting people to Christianity that isn't bad. You could take that exact same motivation. Like that motivation in and of itself is not intrinsically wrong or good or bad or evil or whatever. It's just like, it just is. Like, What is this shirt? This is not the design we're going with, is it? If a character in writing is forced and preachy because of an SJW narrative, then is it okay for us to say, wow, that was shit and too political and too preachy? Yeah, sure. That's a totally valid criticism, sure. If you want to say something as like here's an example, what's the name of that Borderlands game? Like, here's an example of something that's politically motivated and bad, but it's not bad because the writer guy, I forget his name, the guy that was on Hey Ash, What You Playing, it's not bad because the guy's an SJW, it's bad because it's shit fucking writing, and it's inspired by him being an SJW, but that in and of itself doesn't make it a bad thing.
Now bring it back to me and I'll trade you a laser gun.
Or you could destroy it for me and get a cool tour gun. Why? Because I resent laser guns and I'm super good at holding grudges. It's a serious personality problem. Just drop the light reactor into some lava.
Oh, Anthony
Berger.
Berger.
Sorry for the big bag of muscles. You can get the reaction to me or destroy the talk. I'll still like it either way. We make a good team. Except for the part where I don't do anything.
Oh man! Everybody's enjoying their laser weapons and I'm just sitting around making things explode. My life sucks.
Oh, it's okay. People like explosions.
You're just saying that. People want lasers, not explosions.
No, I really do like explosions.
We're getting there, hold on.
Oh, great.
Really? Well, I like you now. Do you want to go out?
Sorry, I'm not into guys.
Friend zone! You being telling the story about the light reactor thing? I'd like to just point out that I was in a dark place back then, and I know that friend zoning is an imaginary and misogynistic way of looking at relationships. You guys know what I mean.
Please go away, Torg.
Like this writing isn't bad because it's SJW-esque. It's bad because it's really forced, really preachy, really cringy. Like, ugh, yikes. Like, the fact that Anthony Birch is like a massive SJW isn't the reason why that's bad. That could have been like a motivating factor, I guess, but even that isn't necessarily bad in and of itself. It's the actual like manifestation of the content. It's like how it actually is, right? Like you would I could never criticize that, or like my criticism there would never be like, oh wow, that's so bad because it's SJW. Like that doesn't make any sense. Like that an SJW or even a fucking Nazi or whatever can be a motivating factor for something that can be really good or really bad. You can't just criticize the inspiration. It just doesn't make, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me unless you're literally saying that like that particular thing is, I don't know, is like intrinsically bad. Like women being in a war is like an intrinsically bad thing. Isn't it great how people can read 3 levels into why a woman is a part of anything, but they can't possibly see the motivation for saying a black woman is from Planet of the Apes? Ah, fuck. Yeah, it's, oh, dude, don't even, just fucking delete your comment. Oh, God. Like, why would you compare a black woman to Planet Apes? First of all, white people could be apes too, okay? It's not like... She's not saying that, like, the black people are like apes, dude. Like, what are you talking about? It's like, why is there a woman in the game? Well, there's a woman in the game, and you can actually tell this because I saw one of the developers that worked in art, and I know that he's a friend with one of the writers, made a post on Reddit 6 years ago about how he actually wanted to be involved with games with more women. And so I'm pretty sure that if you follow that, and then if you look at the timelines for his employment, you can actually see that he was in the office when the script writers were there, and I think he influenced the script, and that's why the woman character is there, and it's even a bad character, and it would have been great. And it's like, oh my God, like you read so deep into this, but like, yeah, okay. What if the movie studios decided the next James Bond is going to be played by a black, lesbian, transgender person? How would you feel about such a scenario? Would you say it's going to be bad? I don't care. I would have to see the movie. I don't know. For me, I actually believe in the shit that half of you fucking retards profess. I don't give a fuck what the main character looks like. I really don't. I don't care if it's white or man or woman or black or gay or whatever. I don't give a fuck. If it's a good movie, I'll like it. Like, who cares? The idea that it has to be like a certain thing, I don't know. Can I go? I need to get food. I really do. Okay, I love you. Stay safe. Ripperino, cappuccino, 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 cappuccino.